As a kid, what did you think was a very normal thing to do, which it really wasn't? Apparently when I was a kid I used to pick up quarters on the street. My parents didn't want me doing that, so my dad told me to not pick up coins. Because people put them in their butts. I didn't use change for anything until I started driving at 16. My parents told me the same thing. Except they were racist. According to them all money could have been upper N-words butthole. When I was in 4th grade I actually asked a black kid if they did that. He just stared at me with a blank look on his face and shook his head no. Have speed up spells where it feels like I just got off a treadmill and my internal monologue is yelling. Turns out I have epilepsy and was having seizures. Didn't realize back when I was like 7. But presented with tonic-clonics, grand mal, at 15. Or listen to the air vent and hear music and white noise. This was likely auditory hallucinations. Also due to epilepsy. Stupid brain. My parents sleeping in separate rooms. My mom snores like crazy and I understood why my dad would hate that. Turns out, dad was gay. I dated a girl whose parents were happily married but lived in 2 separate homes. In the same town. In the same neighborhood. Less than a mile from each other. Both homes were in each other's names and all of their finances were interwoven. They just found that for their relationship it was better to live apart. When we were all together they seemed very happy. And would sleep over at each other's homes. It was like they were a happy dating couple who just hadn't moved in together. Shoveling food into your face as quickly as possible while huddled around the TV. It wasn't until a sleepover at a friend's house that I encountered a family sitting around a dinner table talking about their day. At the time it made me super uncomfortable, but I've learned to slow down and appreciate it more with time. In a similar vein, becoming protective about your food because at any moment, a parent or sibling could go oh hey, I want that, and snatch it off your plate. My family are not comfortable around each other. Never any touching, kissing or cuddling. Any physical contact is forced and horribly awkward. No one also talks and any disagreements simmer for years with a grudging resentment. When I first started dating my now husband I was shocked his family would just sit close to each other. Like their legs would touch on the couch. Like not overly touchy. Just normal. But not normal to me. They also spoke to each other if they were upset. I was quite envious. Building homes for snails and slugs when it rained. My older brother and I would love to go outside when it rained and collect slugs and snails to put in these little pebble shelters we'd make for them in the backyard. Jesus. I was going to say cutting pickle spears into little triangles to eat alongside your sandwich. This thread went in a way different direction. I remember in year 8 in school we watched a video about mental health. One of the kids said that at a low point he considered suicide. I didn't think that was a big deal. Because I thought about killing myself almost every day. I thought it was normal and everybody did it. When you went to the sitter every day, you were to sit on the couch and never move. Seriously. My brothers, sister and I were forced to sit on the couch with the TV on at the sitter's house. While her kids ran around like a bunch of hellions. When we got a new sitter after moving, all 4 of us promptly sat on the couch and stayed there. Our new sitter pulled a bunch of toys out and sat in the floor and played with us. Sitting together at the table for meals, especially dinner. We frequently got McDonald's, had TV dinners, or had ramen mac and cheese. I didn't know until I was an older teen that families actually sat down to talk to each other every day because I thought that only happened in shows and movies. Sitting down at the table makes me uncomfortable. Even to this day. Like, I don't even know how to prep the table. Trusting everything people say to me. This is an underrated comment. For some reason I think I was born an idealist or something. I was told as a kid that lying is wrong, because I clearly and intentionally lied once, and that we should always tell the truth. So I just thought that everyone told the truth and if someone lied, their feelings would be hurt immediately as if somehow the person knew right away. So I've always trusted others 100%. I've slowly gotten depressed because thinking everyone else is right makes everything I think wrong. And now I'm trying hard to learn to not trust others always. We're Jewish. My family used to play Would They Hide Us? A fun dinner time conversation game where we suggest families we're friends with and figure out whether they would be willing and capable of hiding us should the Nazis ever take over America. I thought everyone did that. Having camping nights. Mum would light candles and make dinner with camping gear. She and I would play games until my bedtime huddled up in the living room. It was because she was crazy poor when she divorced my dad and a few times she couldn't pay the electricity on time. I thought it was fun. I thought everyone got beat by their father, so I disliked men who had kids because they probably beat their children too. When I was kid, I genuinely believed all moms were nice and all dads were mean. Like a good cop bad cop kind of thing. It seemed like such a natural conclusion. My dad has always been emotionally abusive. All the kids on my street had really strict arsehole dads. And my best friend had a physically abusive dad. Of course, I eventually realized this was not the case when I started noticing positive portrayals of dads in the media. But I didn't meet anyone who liked their dad in real life until my sophomore year of high school. Dying. Over the period of about a year when I was 9-10 years old, 4 different people on the street I lived on died unnatural deaths. The old lady next door electrocuted herself trimming the hedges. One of the neighbor kids I played with accidentally shot himself playing with his father's gun in front of his sister. Another playmate's father was a cop and was shot and killed in the line of duty, and a 16-year-old girl was raped and murdered in her own house, never solved. Even though everybody knew who did it. I also had a cousin I was close to dying in a car accident. But he didn't live on the same street. So with all that, I just assumed that was a normal rate of death. So naturally, I assumed that I was going to die at some point in the near future. Took a few years to get over that. Being forced to eat way more than what I could. Until my stomach would hurt for hours. Not traumatizing like other stuff in this post. Just something I don't miss. On a lighter note, walking in stealth mode throughout the whole house all the time because I wanted to be like Pocahontas when she spies on John Smith. Whispering what I just said back to myself. Apparently I did it all the time as a kid and never noticed until a couple of friends pointed it out to me. I would be like, let's play Barbies. And then quietly, let's play Barbies. I have no idea what that was about. When I was in kindergarten, I brought a large container of cheesy broccoli for show and tell. It was my favorite thing that my mom made to eat and I wanted to share it with everyone. I was really excited too and helped her prepare it the morning before school and thought everyone would think it was cool I brought something everyone could eat instead of something like a toy like most people. The rest of the class was not as excited as me and no one, except the teacher and I think maybe my friend Nick, ate any of it. I guess it was weird to actually like vegetables and I was a bit disappointed that nobody really tried it. But at the same time was also happy because it meant more for me. Receive clothes from the church. When I was about 6 years old, Santa and his elf came to my house and gave us presents. I did not realize they were church people helping out the poor family until I was a teenager. Squirting ketchup on fries individually. One by one as I ate them. I didn't like squirting ketchup all over my fries. Or in a big pool for dipping. So I'd take a ketchup packet, tear off a corner, and just put some on each fry just before I ate it. Smoking at the age of 9/10. I mean, I had no idea until I was probably in my late teens that it just wasn't normal for a kid to steal smokes from their parents' older siblings and start smoking at the age of 9 or 10. Some of the kids in my neighborhood, including myself, because I was dumb, even took to buying bubble tape, which at the time came in a round canister, and shoving it in their back pocket to make it look like they had a can of Copenhagen because a lot of my friends' dads dipped as well as smoked. Using corn bags. They're cotton squares or rounds filled with dried corn. You put them in the microwave for a heating pad in the freezer for an ice pack. I still use and make them. I just didn't realize nobody else used them until like high school. Mayo. Edit. I'm loving all the different variations people have of this. I'm glad I'm not alone. A whole lot of things. Being beat for very minor mistakes. Didn't help that my friends had their own stories of being beat. Although it was for far more typical of our parents' culture reasons. Sitting at the table together but not talking amongst each other. We were actually punished, usually smacked or yelled at, if we dared to talk while we ate. We also weren't allowed to have the TV on, so we had to eat in silence. Being a slave to my brother. Which included being used as a human stool if he needed to reach something. He's older and was heavier than me. And yes, he did literally use the word slave. Not telling your family when or where you were going or what you were up to or how long you would be gone. I remember as early as 6 I was wandering off to another neighborhood and across a busy road to find playmates. As I got older, I would go to friends' houses for days on end. Still never needing to check with anyone or let anyone know at home I was going. It didn't really click until I got my first roommate after college who bugged out and was about to call the cops because I went to my boyfriend's house. Turned my phone off and took a long nap in the middle of the day as he worked nights. We had an argument where I kept saying I'm an adult. You don't need to keep track of me, and it took a while for me to understand that even adults check in with each other for safety and they don't normally just disappear for a few days. I thought everyone was bisexual until I was 13. And someone very kindly informed me that there was something wrong with me and I was disgusting. I didn't know homophobia or biphobia existed because I thought everyone felt like me. Learning that not everyone is bi and about homophobia in the same day was unpleasant. Having a path through the house surrounded by boxes and junk stacked to the ceiling. I grew up in a hoarder house. Occasionally as kids would run too fast through the path, knocking into the sides, and the boxes and stuff would collapse on top of us. I was the only kid in my grade. From 2nd to 7th grade. In a public school. I knew from TV and movies that this wasn't the norm. But I didn't grow up knowing it was anywhere as rare as it was. Double dipping. I grew up with 4 siblings, so we all shared food all the time. If there was a sauce or condiments to dip in, we all used the same bowl and constantly double dipped. I didn't realize it's not normal until I did it with friends in my 20s and they were really grossed out. When I was a kid, whenever my family had spaghetti with a standard ragu, it was always served as 2 separate items. Like pasta in one dish and sauce in another, and then you put the sauce on top. This left a lot of naked noodles wanting sauce. I lived in Italy for a few years and learned the absurdity of this practice. Just mix it all together before serving. It's way better. Also, Kraft Parmesan cheese is garbage. Sleeping in the display beds at the furniture store. My parents are divorced, and when we were little we'd go week to week at each parent's house. Well, my dad worked at Montgomery Wards and opened the store maybe 3 days a week. That meant he had to be there at 5 AM. During his weeks, he'd stuff us in the car in our jammies and drive us up to Monkey Wards, as he called it. Then we'd all get snug in our own display beds and sleep for another hour and a half. Once some other employees showed up and it got closer to school hours, he'd get us dressed in the dressing rooms and drive us to school. He really did love us and tried hard for us. I thought everyone took their shoes off when they went to someone else's house. I was 4 and yelled at a friend when she started walking past our shoe pile without adding her shoes to it. I also didn't know that not everyone does the sign of the cross when they passed our church. As a child, my anxiety was so bad that I would become physically sick almost every single day. My mother told me it was because I was anxious, but never took me to a doctor or psychiatrist to resolve the problem. I thought it was normal to vomit at least twice a day. Later, when I told people this, they were extremely alarmed. I was shocked to discover people sometimes go years without vomiting. Take the blame for everything. From anyone. Almost never take a shower. Brush my teeth. Etc. Make my own food. Wash and mend my own clothes. Believe that I will always fail. That I am worthless. Unable to succeed. Unworthy of love or affection. Being forced to wear pass-me-down underwear. Of all the humiliations I suffered, that was one of the worst. Particularly because it was normalized. Wearing someone else's skid marks is a sure way to make a kid feel worthless, no matter how many times you tell them to stop complaining because it's no big deal. Growing up abused and neglected will really do a number on you. Ritual cleansing. So I grew up in a very conservative town in the Midwest. My family's religion was an offshoot of the People's Folk House that was popular in the 70s. For the sake of brevity, just consider it to be a Buddhist Taoist version of a group diet. We were told at a young age that the great spirits inhabited for the forms of vegetables and fruit. So obviously we were not allowed to participate in Halloween. It was only when I went off to college that I realized how ridiculous it was for my parents to prevent me from participating in Halloween. I feel as long as I eat a vegetable simultaneously with the candy, I could honor the food spirits and still enjoy candy. But hey, I'm the liberal of the family.